So, welcome everybody to the first edition of a new show that I am doing. It's all one on one interviews, and it's brought to you by the fine folks at DocNet. It's your boy Zeus, and welcome to High Atop Mount Olympus with your boy Zeus. Now, folks, we're starting off hot with our very first show, and I got to tell you, I'm stupid excited for this. A lot of you know that I am a huge Forged in Fire geek. I've been binge watching all of the seasons over the last 2 years. I think I've got in 9 seasons here. And we have got arguably the best gladiator to come on Forged in Fire. That is the young phenom, Jesse Hu. Welcome to the show, Jesse. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking.
Hey, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on, and to have you as kind of the first guest for this new kind of branch off from Ryan's All Things Geek to our new show, High Atop Mount Olympus with Zeus. Thank you for being our first guest. You're going to be a trivia question. You're a trivia question now.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
So Jesse, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're a Wolverines kid.
Yeah, I go to the University of Michigan. I'm gonna be a junior next year. Yeah, go blue. I'm currently 19, the same age that I was on the show. I'm turning 20 soon though, so I won't be a teenager for I don't know in a couple weeks from now. I live in Gilbert, Arizona, which is a small town southeast of Phoenix, and I was born in Massachusetts.
So, Jesse, tell me a little bit about what got you into forgery. Like, you're 19 years old, and you just pulled off one of the greatest feats we've ever seen, and that is 8 consecutive wins in the Gladiator Forge, which was a new concept that they did this past season with one-on-one forging. What was that like, and how did you get into this so young?
So getting into blacksmithing, forging in general, uh, well, I was first introduced to it by just YouTube and just their algorithm. I saw a video of like some people forging. I was like, wait, that is like the coolest thing I've ever seen. And like before I was doing all this blacksmithing work, I was doing a lot of stuff with popsicle sticks and hot glue. I was doing like just a lot of small projects. I built a massive hammer. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was about the size of me when I built it. And like the thing about making things out of popsicle sticks and hot glue is that it's not permanent. It breaks really easily, and there's really no use for it other than to look cool. So I thought getting into metalwork would be pretty good transition. Like it's very permanent. It like lasts generations if you build it right. And yeah, I thought it was super cool. And so the first like 2 to 3 years I did it, I didn't do it that often. I did like 2 times a year, which is not a lot at all. And like it's I said that I said that I did it, but I wasn't actually doing it. Like it's just for the title. But then maybe 3 to 4 years ago, I genuinely started getting into it. I got some better tools with some help from my parents, and I started investing a lot of time and thought into the blades I was making. And then it kind of just snowballed from there.
Now, and that's something interesting that you brought up is getting that help from your parents. So I take it your parents have been totally supportive of your pursuit of blacksmithing and forging.
Uh, that's a really sort of complicated question because they've changed their opinions over time, and sometimes it changes from day to day. Like at the very beginning, there were times when I would go out and like work on some stuff and just avoid doing homework, which is it's not a good thing when your parents are like Asian. And so yeah, so during those times, obviously they were like, oh, I hope he didn't do this kind of thing. But then as time went on, and like whenever I finished the blade, I'd show it to them and be like, oh my god, you made this, like, let me take a picture of it and send it to all my friends and stuff. And then like obviously during those times it's like they're super proud and super supportive. And my mom and my dad also think differently from time to time. Like my dad is always like, "Oh, I can help you with this. I can help like finance you a little bit. I'm not going to buy you like the best tool obviously, but I can help you in like starting it up. And so he was very supportive on like the money side. And
Right.
my mom helped me think about it like with a more business attitude because I have a bad problem of just like giving stuff away for free and like not trying to like get myself what I deserve in terms of like money. And so like my early knives were priced a lot lower than they should have been, I feel like, just because I was scared to like just have nobody buy them. And I'm still scared of that today, but it's a little bit less apparent.
And we take a look at some of your knives here as well. Like, can you explain this knife here to our fans?
So this is a very special knife. I There's a really like well-known bladesmith called Salem Straub. He's Will Stelter on YouTube's like mentor. And I went and studied with him for about a week and I learned how to make like more complicated mosaic Damascus. And with that, I learned how to like use some of the more advanced tools. And so during like my week with him, we designed a new Damascus pattern. We made it, forged out the blade. He taught me some advanced grinding techniques. And then I took home 2 blades and then I finished up the first one, which is what you see here. And
Wow.
I think it looks kind of insane. I got a professional edit, which is why it looks so like so cool and why there's like 2 angles to it. Uh, it's I don't have it with me anymore because I advertised it on Reddit on accident, and
And so,
somebody DM me was like, "Yo, can I buy this?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." I wasn't planning to sell it so fast, but sure, I'll take it.
wow. That pattern is beautiful, by the way. And that
Thank
that
you.
was something that you got a lot of compliments for from the judges as well. Was
Mhm,
not only just how great your patterns looked, but your overall, like it wasn't just, they were really strong or they were really sharp. It was the overall look and functionality of each blade that you made. And,
mhm.
and then when it came to Damascus patterns, I mean, you shot for the stars. Like,
I I think like the general profile of my blades was like pretty good on the show. It's actually one of the things that I care about most when it comes to just my blades at home. Uh, like this one is like mono steel. It's got a hamon, so it's the same steel, but heat treated differently with like clay and stuff.
hmm,
Um, but back to the show. Like I read some comments and they were like, "Wow, Jesse, you did the bare minimum when it came to the layers of Damascus." And I'm like,
what?
like, did they see my like final blade? Did they see some of like the complicated grinds that I did on them? How much more effort I put into the general shape? Like nitpicking like pattern layer count, I feel like isn't too big of an issue. I feel like in terms of general shape and just proportions, I feel like my blades look pretty decent on the show. Yeah.
I think your blades look great on the show, and I think that's maybe just some haters in the crowd because we always see the comment section that it's never going to be 100% positive, no matter what
Mhm.
you could come up with world peace, and you'd still find somebody in the comment section complaining about it.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to keep going through a couple of your blades here as well, just because I love these. This is one of my favorites.
Ah, this is actually my first attempt at Sanmai at home. Sanmai is when you take a harder, higher carbon steel and you put some other steel on the outside called the cladding steel, and then you grind into it and you see like that jagged pattern show up. And it came out pretty cool. The customer for this one requested a small camp knife, and they
Whoa,
got a really cool looking small camp knife.
that's one you can survive in the wilderness with that one, I think.
Yeah, probably.
And then the last one that we had up here.
This is the first blade that I made this summer after coming back from university. Like I can't work on my own blades at school because I don't have my own shop and I don't have like equipment that I trust. And so when I came back, I was just itching to like make a blade, and so I forged this one out and finished it, and it looks super sick.
Yeah, it looks dope. Now, were you a fan of Forged and Fire before you got into forging, or was that something you'd kind of already got into forging, and then Forged and Fire came out, and you're like, wow, I could probably do this.
So my opinion of Forge and Fire has actually changed a lot from going on to the show. Like when I started, I kind of knew it was a thing, and they advertise it as like the world's best smiths go onto the show and they compete for like a title. And again, I thought that like these guys were all like really, really good. And like a lot of them were like some of the early competitors, like Bert Foster, Salem Stroud was on there, Ben was on there. Like they were all super, super good, and I looked up to them a lot. And the time setting just made it even cooler. And like it just similar to Chopped on Food Network. It's basically the Chopped of the bladesmithing world, and I thought
Right.
it was really, really cool. But then as I got like better at bladesmithing, like I started hearing some other better bladesmiths talk about the show. Like it made bladesmithing look bad. The time
Really?
setting didn't allow people to create their best work. And so one of the competitors who's been on the show talks about how they promote creating like less good work, which I can see why that's a thing because of the time setting. But
It's also a competition show.
yeah, it's a competition show. You can't expect to be creating like your best work on the show. And like regardless, the show has brought bladesmithing to a much bigger audience. Like people started bladesmithing because of watching it, and then they go on the show to get more people to watch it. So it's like
Yeah.
it's a positive feedback loop of just attention, which is really important when you have a craft that's like starting to die out over like the past few decades. And yeah, my opinion now. Um, before going on the show, I was like 3 minutes. I mean, 3 hours for forging it out, quenching it, and then 3 hours for the handle. That can't be that hard. And then I did it myself, and I was like, wow, this is actually a lot more stress than I thought it would be because all the camera crew, all of like Grady shouting out the time. It's as much a psychological battle as it is like a physical one, and I respect everybody who was on the show greatly because of that.
Do you forget that Grady's there until he shouts something out? Like
So
half an hour left, blades.
yeah, the thing about the forge is that it's super, super loud. Like propane burns a lot louder than it shows on TV. There's also the sound of like air conditioning in the background. There's the sound of people talking. There's the sound of your competitor working. I couldn't hear anything the judges were saying while we were like filming. I couldn't hear their small remarks. So everything that I like heard from them when I watched the show myself was new, and I was like super excited to actually hear that. But the only time I could hear Grady is when he was shouting in his like booming voice, "You have 3 hours left. You have 4 hours left," kind of thing. Like,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Now we're not too sure what's happening next year, and I don't want to get into any of that. Don't want to get you in any trouble. But hypothetically speaking, there are two undefeated badass champs on Forge and Fire. One, of course, the 9-time champ Ben Abbott, who, like we mentioned before, is just a menace, and he's the man. Gone from, of course, competitor to one of the judges on the show. In the perfect world, let's say I could snap my finger and I could grant you a wish.
Mhm.
Would you want to go head to head with Ben Abbott?
Of course. It sounds like a super fun battle to have. And we can go into it deeper. Like, what would I gain out of facing Ben? Like, what would the show gain out of me facing Ben? Like, in terms of like net positive, I'm sure there is a net positive. Like, we'll get more out of the competition than not. And like the two possibilities, like if Ben wins and I lose, I can say I lost to the best. And if
Right.
I win and he loses, I actually don't know what would happen. That
And he
like
could say he lost to the best.
well, yeah, maybe, but yeah, there's always gonna people would be like, oh, Ben shouldn't have lost, Jesse shouldn't have won, like he only won because of blank kind of thing. And that would be like one of the downsides to me winning or like him winning because like I know I also have like a few supporters, like I have friends, I have family that genuinely think I probably should win even when I shouldn't. And like and yeah, it would be a really interesting battle. It would also be very, very stressful. I don't know if you or anybody watching this knows about this, but before I was competing, like before the like every single battle, I would be running through so many possibilities in my head. Like if this weapon is picked, what would I do? If this pattern is picked, what would I do? And for the first weapon, the Copus with like that animal head pommel,
Right.
I actually had dreams about making that handle. I had 3 entire run-throughs of making that handle in my dreams. And so when I was making it on the show, that was actually my 4th attempt at it because I already made it 3 times in my dreams. And it's like, if
Wow.
if I did this with Ben, it would be like 10 times worse. Like,
Now, and if you were to get that competition with Ben, would you want the 5 days? Would you want both of you guys to have the 5 days?
that is actually a really good question. So for the if I got 5 days and he got 5 days, it would be a question of who has a higher skill cap and who has like better fit and finish. And I know my fit and finish is pretty good, but I know Ben's is also really good. He puts a lot of detail. He can engrave, he can like inlay gold kind of thing. He can make his really stand out, but I can also put like pretty decent fit and finish. Like I think one of the reasons that I was like that I won the show 8 times was because I'm really good at playing with time. Like 8 hours, I know how to stretch and like not stretch, like compress time. I'm really efficient at allocating it. Like if I have a billet in the forge, like there was one of my competitors just standing there watching it. I was working on my handle. Like when I was putting my billet into the fire, I already had my handle material selected. I was already scoping out what I had to do, like putting pieces next to each other. Like I was everywhere at once, and I was really good at not having any downtime. And when you're working at home for 5 hours, for 5 days, and I think it's like 40 hours total, like you can do the same thing. You can be super efficient, but there's less to do because you will already have done so much in like the first 10 hours if you try super hard. And like I think a better, like Forge and Fire is like a competition show. I would prefer having like a time setting because I also know Ben is really good at playing with time. That's like one of his like main like advantages when facing everybody else. He's an engineer. He's got good time management. It's simple as that. He is probably as good as or better than me at managing time. So it would be that we'd be competing against each other in terms of like time management and less so like skill cap. Like I'm sure both would be cool, but yeah.
So everything, I wonder, everything that you do you do with this same type of passion or this type of work ethic, if you will?
Work ethic. When you say like work ethic, you could say that, but I also like to consider it laziness because when you do everything as efficiently as you can spend less time doing things. And so if I'm doing schoolwork, I can grind out an entire like 1,500 word essay in like an hour and a half and have the rest of the day to do whatever I want. And so I can be lazy during the rest of the day, which, yeah, sure, I have the work ethic to finish it during that hour and a half. But by doing that, I can be lazy and just not do anything. So I could be achieving a lot more if I like did stuff with those hours, but I can also just be lazy. And
so what you're saying is you work hard so that you could be lazy. You work hard to be lazy.
Yes. That's one of the things that my mom has like beaten that into me. She's like, finish your stuff now with high efficiency so you can have time later to relax, do what you want. And it's actually very hard to do. Like procrastination is like the bane of my existence, college student existence, everybody's existence. Yeah. And like reversing procrastination means you can be lazy. And yeah, that's how I like to think about it.
I need to start thinking that way more often, or at least getting my kids to start thinking that way. Mm-hmm. We're going to take a look at a quick video here. And after it's done, you can tell me what it was like for you at this moment. Mm-hmm.
Really allows it to go deep into this ballistic dummy. Overall, sir, your Delabra, you look heal.
Thank you.
All right, Jesse, Right off the bat, great look. It's a good shape. The pattern came out really nice. And where it really stands out is right there on the socket, which is kind of cool. You still got an edge. Everything's right and tight, everything's solid. All in all, it held up beautifully. Great job.
Thank you.
Well, Jesse, Kurt, I couldn't have asked for a better final matchup. But at the end of the day, only one of you can take home that final title and the last check for $5,000. But Kurt, that would mean 3 victories and $15,000 in your pocket. Jesse, that could mean 50 grand and 8 victories in a row for you. You both have impressed us with your work, but our judges did make a final decision that they agreed upon. The Gladiator of the Forge is... Jesse, you are unstoppable.
And you are like just unstoppable. So what was it like? First of all, I mean, that was from your very last win. Let's go to your first time having Doug do the kill test. Bring me back to that and what that's like.
And so the very first time that I got my blade tested, it was a strength test and the sharpness test. The thing about my blade for the first battle was that I was very, very certain of the strength of the blade. So I knew it wouldn't break. And when I saw the first hit onto that dummy, I knew that my blade was going to be fine, that the edge probably shouldn't take too much damage. And then for the sharpness test, like that was the thing that I was scared of, because both of our blades had super good build quality. They weren't going to break. So it was a matter of whose is sharper. And when I saw it just sink into that like hide, I was like, okay, I feel good about this, because I like the shape of my blade better. It replicated the example blade a little bit better than my opponent. And I thought I had him beat in like that area. And like of course I was nervous going into like the final announcement. Like it wasn't too scary, but there were a few in between that were definitely a lot more scary.
Now, you going into each and every matchup as the young guy, as the 19-year-old kid that everyone's saying, right? Like you said yourself, you're almost 20, the teenage years are over. What did it, was there ever a point during any of the competitions where you felt nervous or felt like, that the years of experience that other people had, some guys had more experience than however, like how old you are. So did that ever play into your head, or did you have the total confidence in your ability going into it?
So I also have 2 answers for this. Obviously, there's this thing called imposter syndrome, and it's that feeling where you don't belong. And it's pretty easy to have that creep into your head and have that turn into unconfidence. I don't know if that's a word. Inconfidence. Like you can have that creep into your mind and perform worse because of it. But there's also a side of me that I believe in. It's like everybody should have a baseline amount of ego. Like that baseline ego allows you to perform better than you think you can. And it's having faith in your abilities to like push you forward. And so when I was up against the person that had more years of experience than I'm old, I'm like, wow, that's rough. But then I also thought, like, if I beat him, I can say I beat someone with more experience than I'm old. And like during the competition, like itself, there's no time to think about like this skill disparity. Like it's only thinking about what you're doing. Like another thing that my mom also says to me is like, who cares about what everybody else is doing? Just do the best you can. And if you fail while doing the best you can, who cares? Like, and this time I did the best as I could and managed to pull through. And so like I'm happy about that.
Yeah, well, that's great. And it sounds like well, I mean, it's very obvious that your parents are a huge part of your life, not just when it comes to, your profession, but to you as a person and who you're becoming. What are they like? What's your mom and dad like when it comes to work ethic and getting the job done for whatever their respective jobs are.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I can actually say a lot about this as well. I greatly respect my parents for their work ethic. They have different kinds of work ethic. Like my dad can grind a job for hours to support his family. My mom can help us do the best we can in terms of like learning, schooling, making food for us because I have a brother and we eat a lot. Like they also had to get out of China by themselves through their own hard work. And just, if I was in their shoes, like would I be able to have done that? I don't know. So like I really think that their work ethic is like very, very high. In terms of if I want to relate it to this competition, like I already told you, like my mom, like her thought process behind the way she does things has transferred over to me a lot. I feel like it's helped a lot as well. Like always doing your best and not caring about anybody else. That's super important. And then on top of all of this, like they really care about priorities. Like for them to make it where they are today, they had to focus on schooling and just be at the top of their class just to earn their way into a better life. And so during all of this, they were telling me, Jesse, don't win too much. But if you win, like we'll be happy for you, because if I won too much, I'd be away from school. Like I was filming all of this away from school, and so I missed an entire month of 16 credits of engineering. So I also had to deal with that when I got back. But like I feel like it was worth it, and now they think it was worth it. And but the thing that they kept hammering to me was priorities. Like, yeah, that's also transferred, because there are priorities in your life, and there's priorities when making knives, which also helps when you're in a competition.
So what type of engineering are you in at Michigan, and like what's your focus?
So the thing I said on the show was that I'm a double major in electrical and mechanical engineering, but I changed it recently to be only electrical. There was no option for a minor in mechanical, so I just decided to just take advanced ME classes, but still major electrical. And so in terms of my focus, that's actually, I don't have a perfect answer for you. I know that I want to do something that requires a lot of thinking, obviously. Maybe working with my hands a little bit. Like robotics sounds pretty cool. I'd be able to put thought into something and eventually have it work on something else.
Right.
Like that would be pretty cool. But in terms of like what I want to do in a career, like I couldn't tell you. Right. I'm just getting a degree and hoping I can find something that resonates with me later.
So you're saying you're not ruling out working for Elon Musk and creating AI?
I mean, I can't rule anything out. Yeah. Whatever comes will come. So
that's great. We got another quick video here to show. This here, one of you at home showing off the sharpness of one of your blades here.
So I am very like present on Instagram. It is like the thing that gave me this opportunity in the first place to be on Forge and Fire, because somebody saw me on there and asked me if I wanted to interview for it. And like I care deeply about growing my Instagram platform. And one of the best ways to grow yourself on Instagram is to create like a short clip of you doing something that is very satisfying, or just something very cool that people expect you to not be able to do. And like most people don't have knives sharp enough to do this. And so when you sharpen a knife and do it, they're like, whoa, this is super cool. I gotta go follow this guy. Like maybe he'll show me how he did it on his Instagram. And then like it just spirals from there. I have a lot of like cutting tests when you scroll down on my Instagram. Like I've cut empty paper towel tubes, empty plastic bottles, and they all do really, really well in terms of like the Instagram algorithm. And this one did fairly well as well. Like not as well, because now Instagram is more focused on longer reels.
Yeah, trying to keep up with TikTok now.
Yeah, like I know Instagram is trying to sort of become like TikTok. They're going away from being like a photos app.
Mhm.
But yeah, you gotta improvise and adapt when they change. So
That is definitely true. And here's the last one that I want to see, and maybe just get I don't know your kind of reaction to here. Let me know what you thought of this.
Well, Jesse, I've got one word to describe you, and that is impressive. You just won your 8th Gladiator Forge title, and you have $50,000 to take home with you. Congratulations.
Thank you. This experience was definitely once in a lifetime. I just won 50 grand. I'm planning on putting so much of it into bladesmithing. I already made a spreadsheet of all the tools I'm gonna buy. I'll finally live the dream as opposed to just dreaming the dream.
Now you're in the States, so you don't get to keep everything like we do here in Canada when it comes to game shows.
yeah,
Taxes are fun, right?
yeah, definitely.
No, but did you get to buy some of the tools that you wanted to set out to get?
Oh yeah. The funny thing is, before going on the show, I had probably the jankiest shop out of anybody that's ever been on the show. Like the vast majority of my tools are the cheapest version you can buy either on Amazon or at Home Depot, and I found a way to make them work. And there's always that thought that creeps into your head when you don't have money, like, oh my god, if I did have this money, what would I do with it? I'd be buying all this stuff. And like I got the opportunity to like get the actual money to do that. And now that I had it, like I talked about it, I had the spreadsheet made.
Right.
I found the most important tools that I needed, and I bought them in order of like how much I needed them. And the funny thing is, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but I think I should be able to. I filmed the show like 6 months ago, 7 months ago, but I didn't get my winnings until the episodes aired. And
wow.
I had a period of 7 months in which I knew that I was going to have money, but I didn't have money. And so like, this is where my dad came in and helped me so much. Like
Nice.
he loaned me a lot of money, and I bought some tools. And now that I got paid from the show, I paid him back. And
That's awesome.
obviously he's my dad, so he's not going to charge me like 50% interest. And so
Right.
I'm grateful for that. And like I was
Only
able
5%.
to,
Only 5%.
yeah. And I was able to start off my summer setting up the shop as opposed to waiting for my equipment to come so that I could set up later. That saved me so much time. And yeah, it was super, super nice.
So here's a real question. Did you buy your own Big Blue?
I did not, unfortunately. The thing about power hammers is that you need a good foundation for that, because otherwise you'll shake down your house. I live in like a pretty non-industrial like community. Like the concrete that they pour for the garages is probably not thick enough for something like Big Blue. And so I opted for a Coal Ironworks 25-ton press, because a press is a squeeze as opposed to like an impact. And so
Right.
it does less damage to the things around it. It's also a little bit cheaper and less expensive to maintain. And so I thought it'd be a much better like choice for me than Big Blue.
Fair. Now, I'm going to let you get out of here in a couple minutes. I do got to ask you, out of everything that you made during your epic run, what was your favorite blade that you or weapon that you made on the show?
My favorite weapon on the show. I am going to have to say the final one, the Delabra.
Oh, right.
There's actually a lot of reasons for that. And that stems with another thing. I didn't, before going on this show, I've never made Damascus by myself.
Right.
Like that's kind of crazy, because on the show, all I made was Damascus. And so I was basically picking up skills on the go while I was on the show. And my final blade, the Delabra, I combined canister Damascus, Sanmai, Damascus Sanmai. I combined all of those, and it was sort of like a homecoming of like techniques that I like learned while on the show. And so I put them all together. I made that blade, and it was strong. It looked good, and it performed perfectly. Like I couldn't have expected it to like go any better. And it's really and it was also like the blade that got me my final win. And there's also some like good feelings about that. Like so there obviously all of the other ones were cool. Like the Rumfaya, the one it cracked down the spine, that gave me some heart palpitations. But
Right.
like they were all cool in their own right. The Puyo daggers.
Yeah, I was gonna say the daggers were amazing.
Yeah, the daggers was like in total 32 parts for the handles. Like it was like they didn't show it, but it was very, very complicated. But like I still think the final blade is my favorite.
32 parts though for a handle. For
Yeah.
both handles combined?
Yeah, per blade it was like 17 parts, but yeah, 32 parts total.
That's just insane. And probably got that done in what, 45 minutes?
Well, I can't say that. Maybe like an hour to 2 hours. But yeah, it was a lot of parts, and I'm happy that it came out the way it did.
Well, I'm really happy it did as well. And I'm really happy that you took the time out of your busy schedule, because I know you're out there bladesmithing. Plus, you're in school, and
Yeah.
you know you've got a lot on your plate. So I do want to say thank you so much for being our inaugural guest on High Atop Mount Olympus with Zeus. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, it was fun.
Awesome. Now, and we showed people on the bottom there if they want to take a look at your blades, but you're sold out right now because you're in such high demand.
Yeah.
We've got your website down there, and of course, if they want to follow you on Instagram, we got. I think your handle's correct right there as well, right?
Yeah, that looks good to me.
Awesome. Well, Jesse, like I said, an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thanks again. Like I said, one of the greats already of Forged in Fire, and I can't wait to see you take on Ben Abbott. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you, everybody else, for tuning in. This has been our first episode of High Atop Mount Olympus with Zeus. We'll see you all next time. Peace.